my mom would walk with my brother and they'd ask if she's the maid or why is she taking someone's child simply because she's dark and my brother is really light skinned. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from around the world. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Be Local Podcast because we are Black, global, and we are local. And today I've invited a few sisters of mine to discuss an interesting topic, and that is colorism. And we cannot talk about colorism without talking about standards of beauty. And the reason why I would like to discuss this topic is because, for a very long time, as Africans, as Black people, there's a lot of issues going around. But this particular ism, colorism, is not getting so much play, and we thought, why not? And because it affects us women, so we're like, let's talk about it and decipher what this ism is about. So I'll invite my sisters over, and for some of you, one of them one of them has been lost on you, but we'll find out where she's been hiding. So, girls, over to you. Thank you for joining the podcast today.
Hello. Good to be back. I guess some of you might recognize me in previous episodes.
But we don't
This is your
see
girl
you.
Fatu. This is your girl Fatu. I'm here. I'm back. I'm back.
Hi, Fatu. Welcome back.
Thank
You
you.
you owe us a story, a very long one, but that's for another day.
Yes. I have an explanation.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having us in this, I don't know, fun product podcast. And yeah, hopefully it will be fun today and cheerful.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for inviting me, Liz. I don't know if Mara and Fatu have already done this, but for me, it's my first time to make an appearance on this podcast. So I'm excited.
We've been
Yes.
here before.
Yes, this is my second time, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
For Fatu, we can't count how many number of times she's been here, but again,
Yeah.
that's a story for another day. So, without
Yeah.
further ado, I would like
Mm.
you guys to just, give us a brief introduction. Your name, your home country, what you're doing, if you're comfortable with it, and then
Mm.
I'll ask you guys to, after that, briefly define what you think colorism is. You know, yes.
Okay. So I'll go first. As you all know, my name is Fatu Williams. I'm from the Gambia, West Africa. So currently I live in Stockholm, but I was living in Japan with Murungi previously, earlier this year. So yeah, currently I work as an engineer, and yeah, I mean it's been good.
I'm Mariam, but I go by Maria most times. I'm from Uganda, and that's how I know Liz. And today I get to meet the lovely ladies, Fatu and Mara from Sudan. I'm doing a PhD in global health, and I'm currently living in Tokyo.
Okay. So I'm Marwa Ali, and I'm Sudanese. Um, I'm in Osaka as well, doing my PhD, majoring in immunology. And this is my final year, almost about to graduate and live in Japan. And yeah, thank you for having me.
So I invited these lovely ladies because I think we all have a different skin tone. Africans, we come from a place where you really can't put our skin tones in a box. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that we've all not faced some sort of discrimination or whatever. So, what is your definition of colorism, really, when you think about it?
Well, I guess I'll go first. For me, the word colorism, when I think of it, when someone says you're a colorist, I feel like it's maybe you are judged based on your skin tone, or maybe you are given preferential treatment because of your skin tone. That's how I see what colorism is. But that's a little bit of how I feel. Maybe someone else can have a different opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, well, for me, as far as I can tell, I did some thinking, and it seems that the word colorism itself was first coined by a novelist, Alice Walker, and then it was popularized by a sociologist. I think her name was Margaret Hunter. It's in 1983. The two ladies say that the definition will vary depending on what your community is and what your context is, but what it comes down to is discrimination of people based on the tone of their skin, and it's usually marked by a preference for lighter skin. What was surprising for me is that the two authors say that it's mostly common within race. So I was expecting it to be aggression between races, and they say that that exists as well, but usually the term itself is used within the race. So I guess my definition throughout this conversation will be in line with that, the discrimination that is based on color within a particular race, and that's, I guess, African.
Yeah, likewise also, because I always thought like it's in among the same group of race. So among, let's say, since we're talking about black people, among black people, so there is this how to say it, they kind of tend to prefer lighter skin. The lighter you are, the more especially for ladies, the lighter you are, the more beautiful you are, the more comfortable your life is going to be, and vice versa. So which is, it's a bit weird. And I think it has a lot of anti-blackness because this is just weird to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now, what skin tone are you considered in your country?
Oh.
Because I
uh,
believe wherever you are from, it varies. I think for me, I don't know if the cameras are really showing properly, but I think for me, I fall more on I'm just there. I'm just probably in the middle, more to the dark side, but just in the middle. If the scale is 0 to 10, I guess I'm like a 5.5, where a 10 is the darker side. I don't know. What about you ladies? What skin tone are you considered in your home country?
Well, for me, I consider myself dark skin. Although I'm not the darkest in the in the scale, but I feel like I'm dark skin anyway. So yeah.
yeah. For me, it's I'm on the light spectrum. But the really messed up part about this, in my country, I'm still considered light, but I'm still considered desirable, but I'm not light enough to be considered really beautiful. So if for me to be considered the actual desired type in my country, I will have to bleach my skin. So I need to get 2 shades lighter than this. But compared to other people who are darker than me, I would say, yeah, I'm considered light in my country.
Hmm. Maria?
Well, certainly for me, I'm dark, and I don't know if I would like place a scale on it, because my whole life there's always been the background noise of your dark, even though it never really occurred to me to like compare. Well, compared to this other maybe tribe, or compared to this other, where would I rate? I've always just known, oh, you're dark, and that, yeah, whatever. So yeah, that's what I would say. I know that I would be considered really dark in most Ugandan communities, at least.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I'd say. I'm dark skinned, like as dark as they come would be me. Is what.
Why do you think this whole, colorism thing, this whole comparison of skin tone comes from, and what have been your experiences, both positive and negative, because of the shade of your color? Especially, of course, as women, we have very many issues, but being put on a scale and being told you're not beautiful enough, you're not tall enough, you're not, I don't know, big enough, small enough. So, what have been your experiences when it comes to colorism in particular?
For
Hmm.
me, I believe it's a little bit deeper. Um, it's it started from when you were born, I guess. When you're born and you were given a doll that's like light skin or a white doll you play with, and you maybe you watch TV and you see white people and stuff, and you see lighter people, and then you hear people saying, oh, that person is from this tribe and they are like light skin and they look pretty. So you look at yourself, you're like, okay, I'm dark skin. Is that, does that mean like those people are those are the standards of beauty? Are those the people that are like the prettiest? So it's kind of instilled in us as we grow and we watch TV. We see people that do adverts, they are light skin and they sell these products better than
Mm-hmm.
others, or people are put in shops and they are light skin in front, and it's just something that's kind of instilled in, like, as we grow, that we see around. And it's maybe mainly, I think, more how do I say it, it is it is more empowered by people around us, kind of. But that's basically how I. But for it depends on how you are raised and how you how people talk to you about your skin tone, or and stuff like that, and your education as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it starts from the from when you're born and the environment you are around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mara. So yeah,
Yes.
I definitely agree with Fatu. Like for example, I'll tell you a bit about my own personal experience. So when I was growing up, my nickname was Waduga, which is short. I know this is going like, probably Murungi is going to be dying throughout this because she knows like the trans and everything. Waduga is short for a Luganda phrase, which is Wadugala, and the translation is you became dark, like you came out of your mother's womb dark kind of idea. And what's even more interesting is that the same word, kudugala, is the same, it has the same meaning as dirty. So, in other words, in Uganda, black is synonymous with not just ugly, but dirty. And in addition to that, in Uganda, most of the darker people come from the northern part of the country, which is wrought with all sorts of afflictions: poverty, less education, disabilities, violence, generational wars. All of those things are very ripe in northern Uganda. So basically, if you're dark, you're not just ugly, you're dirty, you're probably poor. Like all of these very loaded negative things are carried within that nickname of Waduga, you know. But
Wow.
like like Fatu says, how you're brought up makes all the difference. Because growing up, I never thought of myself as ugly even once. In fact, I thought I was bad. What was my she being aware? She grew up, I guess, more on, I guess, a touch on the light side, a little bit lighter than Liz. So I guess she'd seen all of this, and in her very intentional effort to cloud out all the background noise of you're dark, you're ugly, you're dirty, she always marveled at my skin tone. She'd always be like, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. Look at those pink lips. Like looking back, I see now that she was exaggerating. Like, I think she was really a bit over the top with the compliments. But because of that, I never once felt like everything else that I face when I go out on the street meant anything, because the one person who actually meant something thought I was beautiful. She would be, I would go to her workplace, she'd be like, look at my daughter, you're such a black beauty. My goodness, look at your skin. And then she'd touch me, such a soft, plump skin. Like, and I thought it was true.
Oh,
That, maybe not all of that. So yeah, like to just echo what Fatu was saying, a lot of that is how you grow up, what voices you're listening to, and maybe where the voices that are
No, it's okay. Because, like, for me, also the same. In Sudan, if you're really dark skin, it's considered dirty. And even there is this phrase that people, your mom, your aunties will tell you to get clean. Especially if, let's say, you're getting married or there is a wedding or something, and you want to show yourself, you want to be that it girl, you need to get clean. And getting clean is by bleaching your skin, basically. So, and it's not helpful for me personally because my second sister is really light, like light, ridiculously light. Me and my brothers, we will always like joke to my mom, like, this is not your child, you stole somebody else's child. Because she looks completely different. She's extremely light. She has blonde hair and everything. She doesn't even look like us. So growing up, everybody will compare us to each other because, like, there's only 2 years difference between me and her. And why you're not looking, why are you not looking like your sister? You're light, but you're not that light. You need to work harder. You need, don't play in the sun, wear long sleeves, all of that things. And nobody is going to marry you because you're not as light skinned as your sister. So yeah, that was always on the background. But my mom, she basically was like, if somebody is going to be attracted to you just because of your skin tone, you don't need that person in your life. That's not anything, and you're just beautiful no matter how you look like or how light or dark your skin. So you don't need to pay any attention to that. But the society, basically, the closer you are to white or Arab looking features, light skin, really long straight hair, the more beautiful you are for ladies. So that's how it is.
Well, I think I grew up in a slightly different family because from you guys, because for us, we are the men, the guys are all light skinned. Then us, the girls and the women, we are all dark skinned. So there are times, just like I think Mara's mother, my mom would walk with my brother and they'd ask if she's the maid or why is she taking someone's child simply because she's dark and my brother is really light skinned. And then when my dad would walk with us, my sister is about a shade or two darker than me, then he would have to introduce us strongly as his daughters because he's light skinned. So, but my relatives are all a bunch of skin tones. So this never really came up in the immediate family, but the surrounding, you
Mm.
know, even to this day when we work with our brother, those who don't know, they ask if we are cousins or if we are, I don't know, how do we know each other? Are we neighbors? Are we neighbors? We have a very light skinned cousin of ours, another sister of ours. So when we are together, my our brother and her are siblings. For us, we are the cousins.
Oh.
However, the the thing that really pained me the most, this is not entirely, a direct a story from the family, but I went to see a friend of mine and she just had a baby, and I think the kid was about 6 months at the time. And before I went to see her, of course, I called her. So how are you? When can I come see the baby? Blah blah blah. She's like, "Oh, I'm fine. The baby is fine. Like, it's like she's so beautiful. Everything is so exciting. I'm enjoying motherhood. Like she's such an angel. She's the most light-skinned person I know. And like the whole time we're having the conversation, she was emphasizing the kid's skin tone. My friend is dark skinned, by the way, really dark skinned, and so is the father's child. And I thought to myself, kids are still growing. So what if this kid, you know, the skin tone changes? Will that mean she's going to stop being beautiful in the mother's eyes? So of course you don't go telling people about, oh, I don't think that's right to say about your kid. However, I got really, really concerned, and I was like, I think moving forward, we need to change the narrative of how we define our nieces, our nephews, our kids, even our siblings, because sometimes when you're playing, I remember when we were younger, our cousins used to make fun of my sister. As I said, she's a shade or two darker than me. Of course, we laugh about these things, but these things are ingrained in people's minds for a very long time. And by the time someone gets over it, really, they've done a lot of internal work. And then I also read an article where this mother uh, kept buying certain clothes to hide her daughter's legs and arms because for some reason, I mean, for kids, usually they're wearing free clothes, at least back home, a blouse, a short dress. But she kept buying socks for the child and long sleeved clothes because the girl was dark and she felt it wasn't okay for the young girl to be dark. So I thought to myself, okay, is it, as Fatu said, is it the TV that we are watching that is making us think we are all not beautiful? Is it, I don't know, mm, the commercials, as you said, because I've not seen commercials with people who have my of my skin tone. So I wondered about all these things. So I wonder, what are some of the dangers of, someone keeping emphasizing that, your skin tone is not good enough? What are some of the dangers? If some of you have faced any, or what do you think they are, especially on the younger generation?
I think if you have the entire media, and mainly it's coming from America or Europe, because let's be honest, everybody is watching American media, right? So up until recently, all the messages on their media is basically emphasizing if you're dark skin, you're associated with being in a gang or you're ghetto. Every bad stereotype you can think of is basically reserved for dark skinned Black people. And the lighter you are, right? The lighter you are, the more successful, the more well behaved, the more educated, the more high class you are. So the closer you are to whiteness. So because of this, and you get all those ads about skin lightening. If you lighten your skin, you're going to be desired and you're going to meet your dream person. And I don't know, life will magically, you will end up with a Cinderella story or whatever. So, and you're seeing those messages from a young age. And then, of course, you have the background of your society and all of those nonsense that's happening going on. So, all of these messages building up through the years, you will end up deeply, even if you don't want to, like in your subconscious, believing that if you're dark skinned, you're black being bad, light skin being good, and if you want to be a good person, if you want to be how to say it, to have a wonderful life and everything, you need to get lighter. So you end up hating yourself, and you end up going to extreme measures to the point that you are willing to use really harmful chemicals to actually strip your skin color from its pigment, and they are not safe. You can have poisoning, you can have renal failure, you can die, actually, you can get cancer. But people are still doing it because that's the price, and they are willing to pay the full price in order to become the desired type of their societies. Yeah, so
Yeah, I mostly I agree with that. It's all about what society perceive as beauty around us. For example, back home, I see that like if you want to be like a movie star, the best way is to have light skin, because when you're light skin and you're out there on TV and people see you, you get more followers. People are like, okay, that's a beautiful actress, and then you get more recognition. And because young people are seeing that, they will go to the extent of lightening their skin to be lighter to get that kind of recognition, and that is one danger. And another danger is basically people's mentality of like, okay, now for my next generation, I have to be with someone that's light skinned to get a light skinned kids so that my kids will have a better life and stuff. Those kind of mentality will just is kind of backwards. And this is another kind of danger that will be happening. But it's all about society. I think, like I said in the beginning, society is what's empowering these kind of thoughts on us, with the media showing what the standard of beauty is, seeing people doing surgery just to get to a particular standard. So it's all started with the society. But now I think a little bit we're seeing a little bit more improvement out there. We're seeing dark skinned people having good businesses out there, doing better for themselves and being on top of taking the narrative away from being dirty or with poverty and associating it to something good. So I think things are changing now a little bit.
Yeah, I guess to add on to what Mara and Fatu have already said, I think the dangers of colorism are just far-reaching. But I try to look back and see where this would have come from before media started to perpetuate it in the films and in the real life media and all of that. And it turns out that, for example, in pre-colonial Congo, one study by, I think it was done in 2014, this person reports that in pre-colonial Congo, the preference was for darker skin, to the extent that mothers would put their lighter skinned baby under the sun to make them darker.
Mm.
But right now, 30 to 40% of the women in Congo not only use skin whitening creams, but they contemplate the idea of using those creams on their babies as well when they're darker, which is like the whole social construct was flipped on its head. And that has its roots in the legacy of colonialism. So, for example, in Rwanda, what happened is that the Europeans had this litmus test of who's superior. And what they were doing is that they would check the skin and the size of the nose to determine the ethnicity area. And in that vein, they ended up according more power and privileges to the Tutsis, who are the lighter skinned Rwandans.
Mm.
And the Tutsis had so much power that they could lord it over the Hutus. Yeah, I think they're called the Hutus, and those are the darker skinned Rwandans. So much. And then when the Belgians took over Rwanda, they made it even worse by giving the Rwandan these ethnicity papers, which basically were a discrimination between Hutus, the lighter ones, and the darker ones. The Tutsis are the lighter ones, I believe. For any Rwandans listening, forgive my confusion of your tribes, but I think it's the Tutsis that are lighter. So there was not just the social idea of we're more powerful and superior, there was also the legal aspect of it. Like, I have papers that opened so many doors for me and you don't.
Yes.
So yeah, has really just jumped on the wagon that has its roots in such a deep-seated place. And we know how that story ends, because in 1994 they put the Tutsi to the Hutu. And I think in the worst case scenario, that can happen
Mm.
just out of the basic fact that I'm lighter and you're darker, you know? But even outside of that, like, it's a proven fact that at least for young girls, darker skinned adolescents in school are 3 times more likely to be suspended over small misdemeanors
Yes.
than their lighter peers. And more than that, when they commit offenses like juvenile offenses, darker skinned adolescents get longer sentences compared to lighter skinned adolescents. And then for the men, of course, it's interesting to see how the pendulum swings depending on the community that you're in and how social constructs come and go. Like, you grow up being dark, and then you get suspended, you get longer sentences, you're less suitable for marriage. Like, all of these things keep stacking up against you from a very small issue of you're dark skinned. And some of these things you might never know, because then you end up in the workplace, and not only do you have this very bad track record, but you're dark skinned, and that predisposes you to being to expressing so sorry experiencing microaggression. Like, it it's sort of like a dominoes effect that just starts off by simple act of something that's out of your control, morphs into this giant thing that is so beyond you. So it can be bad depending on
Mm.
what I'm looking at it from.